So there are many spiritual benefits to travel. When you travel, you're vulnerable. When you travel, you're put into unfamiliar, challenging situations, sometimes on a daily basis. Whether it's a long walk, whether it's visiting a country where you don't speak the language, don't know the culture, you're unfamiliar with it. You're put into a state of unknowing, of uncertainty. And it's healthy to be in a state of unknowing. Many people feel that they have strong certainty about so many things in life. And so they don't see things accurately. But when you travel, you necessarily have to realize that, wow, I don't know this culture. I don't know this language. And then you're more open to see things freshly, to think about things in a new manner, to listen and learn, to be present. Because you're in a state of vulnerability, because you're in a state of potential danger sometimes, you pay closer attention to your intuition, where maybe you haven't been paying attention to it at all. But in a travel situation, you're vulnerable and you want to avoid danger. Like we have instincts to avoid danger, but in a day-to-day basis, we're not really dealing with danger in a conscious manner. So when we travel, you're in a crowded city, you're in, the countryside, and you're unfamiliar with your surroundings, with the language, with the culture as a whole. So you pay closer attention to your environment. Maybe you pay closer attention to your emotions. Like this really stresses me out. Or this is really beautiful. Like I don't know why I don't sit on a balcony and enjoy a cup of tea more often. Something as simple as that. Where you have a realization, where you really taste your food for the first time in months or years, perhaps. Where you reconnect with your spouse in a beautiful way. It's the monsoon season and you're stuck in your room and, like you could complain and be like, oh, we wanted to go and see the hills today or the beach today or whatever, but it's raining so heavily. And now you get to know your spouse again for the first time in a fresh manner. So traveling holds many benefits, and I'm just mentioning a couple off the top, but so paying closer attention to your intuition, listening to your environment, observing it, including your inner environment, connecting with someone who's close to you, or maybe you connect with a stranger, like you just have a simple exchange. And like sometimes we have to be wary when we're traveling in a distant land, because there are people who are trying to separate us from our money, from our energy, trying to scope us out and see what kind of person we are, trying to gauge personal potential benefits. But maybe we have like some significant connection that we haven't had in quite a while. Maybe we meet another traveler and we sit down and like, maybe we haven't had like a serious conversation with a stranger in quite a long time. Like getting to know somebody in a different environment, and like another traveler who's also in an off-balance situation. This is not their everyday scenario. Or maybe they're very experienced as a traveler, and they might briefly mentor you. And you might learn something about traveling and expand your toolkit. Get some new insights as to how to move around. And so just in moving from place to place, sometimes taking local buses or trains, seeing how the people are living, You know, being in the crowd for a bit, it's got its stresses, of course, but perhaps it's something that leads to some powerful insights about yourself, about the world, about humanity. So this is very worthwhile. There's so many other things about traveling that are spiritually beneficial, including going to spiritually powerful places in nature, ancient spiritual sites where many people have prayed, meditated, contemplated, fasted, and imprinted the locality with potent energy, with blessing, with barakat. Um, so many spiritual benefits. But ultimately, it comes down to self-knowledge, knowing who we are, learning who we are in this world within its various contexts, to see things freshly, to see things anew, to recommit to the path of humanity, to recommit to excellence, to recommit to beauty, to recommit to presence and appreciation. These are all very important spiritual benefits of travel. These are things that I'm sharing from personal experience. Travel has transformed me in many ways. And, I first realized when I was traveling in Africa years back, that I was actually doing more interior travel than exterior travel. I was exploring the inner worlds in ways that I had not yet done. Taking steps, gaining courage to think about things and experience things in a fresh way. Because you will, like, by being in such uncertainty and being in a state of imbalance, it can lead to you becoming, and feeling fear. Sometimes we need to feel a bit of fear in order to increase in courage. It's kind of like lifting weights where, it's like at first it's very challenging to lift those weights, but if you're properly nutrifying and you're properly doing the weightlifting, then little by little, in a systematic way, then little by little, you're going to gain strength and increase in musculature. And the same thing is going to happen when you put yourself in unfamiliar situations, and you're going to increase in courage. And ultimately, this is related to trusting truth, to tawakkul, to surrendering to truth, asking for guidance, to ask for protection, to ask for insight, to understand, to comprehend, to expand our hearts, to expand our minds, to expand our visions. But that expansion of heart is what it really comes down to. That's the most important thing, in my opinion, is to expand our hearts, to become more compassionate, more wise, to become egoless, selfless. So we'll discuss this more soon, inshallah. But until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.